Before I go, not like go, but like, let's just take a big deep breath, okay? It's been a long time since we've had like a chance to really pause in this service. Let's take it, okay? Everyone breathe in and out. Okay, we're gonna do it again. Psychology tells us that if you breathe out for longer than you breathe in, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your brain that tells you, I'm safe, everything's okay, I can slow my heart rate down, okay? Breathe out longer than you breathe in. Let's try it. Here we go. In and out. That was as much for me as it was for you. Okay. The Jews are a resilient people. We have endured so much suffering, so much loss, so many enemies and attempted conquests and hateful acts. The paradigm of they tried to kill us, we won, let's eat, is actually pretty powerful and beautiful, I think. So why? Why is it? Why have we managed to endure? While so many peoples in this world have been crushed by similar forces over these last 3,000 years, well, I don't think that it's only our Torah and only our traditions, nor do I think that it's only our cultural heritage or only our values. The element that I believe has kept us around for so long is a much more subtle aspect of Jewish thought, and one on which we are losing our grip. In fact, I believe that if we fail to correct along this particular axis, we may face a schism among our people as soon as within the coming decades. That magical element I'm talking about? Disagreement. Rabbinic Jewish tradition is founded on disagreement. If you study the works of the early rabbis, the corpus of Midrash and Talmud and biblical commentary, you will be immediately struck by how saturated they are with debate, how replete they are with controversy and disagreement. A hallmark of this literature is the preservation of minority voices. Even if we do in fact learn how the debate ended and who won the argument, you will still be able to learn the principled stance of the minority vote getters. Despite Rabbinic Judaism's commitment to healthy disagreement, however, there have been eras in which our people has failed grievously in this category. In the First Temple period, after King Solomon's death, disagreements over the new king's plans resulted in a civil war that split us into two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Israel's eventual destruction at the hands of the Assyrians was attributed by Judah not to Assyrian aggression, but rather to northern practices which were abhorrent to God. And later, when the Babylonians, who had conquered the Assyrians, came down to finish the job and destroy Judah and the temple in Jerusalem, our tradition's chief explanation for the temple's destruction was again not Babylonian aggression, but rather sinat chinam, baseless hatred among Jews toward each other. The factionalizing of our people led to our ultimate downfall and the greatest tragedies to that point in our history. More than 2 millenniums later, we are again at a precipice. We are living through a moment of Jewish division, unlike any the post-biblical world has ever known. Differences of opinion about a great many things, but especially responding to anti-Semitism and Israel's government's course of action, both domestically and with regard to the conflict in the Gaza war, have led to the disruption of important relationships. Doubtless, we have all seen on our social media feeds or experienced in our own lives the ending of friendships long believed to be unshakable. We have witnessed respected colleagues devolve their arguments into ad hominem attacks and epithets. We have seen individuals we once believed to be calm, collected, mature adults acting like children. I know for a fact that there are young people in the Jewish community that in just the last few years have completely cut themselves off from their parents or their families. And I know for a fact that there are parents that have openly insulted, accused, condemned their own children. Just about 2 weeks before I moved to New Jersey, I spent 45 minutes on the phone with a childhood friend whose family I've known for my whole life and with whom I've spent many beautiful Jewish moments. And he called me for the first time in a long time asking for advice about how to talk to his own parents about Israel, because conversations around the dinner table had made their family dynamic toxic. In rabbinic Hebrew, a disagreement or a conflict is a machloket, the root of which is chet lamed kuf, as in a chelek, a portion or a subdivision. That is to say, when we are engaged in disagreement, we are divided. We're in machloket on a particular matter. Yet, in the Babylonian Talmud, in Masechet Gittin on page 59b, we read, the entire Torah is for the sake of darchei shalom, paths of wholeness or paths of peace. In other words, promoting harmonious and peaceful coexistence between people. Thus, when we are divided, when we're in machloket with one another, it is our duty to pursue the derech shalom, the path back toward wholeness. If we're going to make it through this impossible moment in our people's history and avoid that schism, either among our broader global Jewish community or among our own families, we have to rediscover the lost art of disagreement. We need to be able to disagree with each other, even passionately so, and still be okay, and still be together. We need to relearn how to manage interpersonal conflicts and difficult conversations. And we need to do so quickly. And to that end, I have 4 key pieces of advice as we enter this new year. Keep it constructive. Unquestionably, the most oft-cited line of rabbinic wisdom about conflict resolution is Pirkei Avot 5:17. And it is this Mishnah that outlines the essential goal in Judaism with regard to disagreement. We learn, every argument that is for the sake of heaven's name, in Hebrew, a machloket l'shem shamayim, the end thereof will endure. But if it is not for the sake of heaven's name, it is not destined to endure. So this Mishnah is establishing for us a basic binary typology. Is it a constructive conflict or is it a destructive conflict? If we must be in conflict with one another, our tradition wants us to have constructive conflicts. But how can we tell the difference? Rav Ovadia Mibartanura elucidates this in his commentary on that line from Pirkei Avot. He teaches, the controversy which is for the sake of heaven, the purpose and aim is to arrive at the truth. And a controversy which is not for the sake of heaven, its purpose is to achieve power and the love of victory. This is a key metric that you should gauge within yourself when you find yourself in conflict with someone you're disagreeing with. Am I fighting about this because I'm trying to figure out what's right and true, or am I fighting about this because I want to win an argument? What about the person I'm fighting with? Look, this is a difficult thing to admit. Pride is an immensely difficult thing to overcome. So, that first piece of advice is to keep it constructive. When you're in disagreement with someone, even a serious one or a passionate one, pause, ideally early on in the disagreement, and talk about the goals of this disagreement. Remind yourself and each other out loud, we are not sitting at the negotiating table between Israel and Hamas. We are are not on the congressional committee setting U.S. government policy regarding university campus free speech. Put it on the table for discussion. I can feel this conversation getting a little heated, and I can tell we're both feeling very strongly about this. If we're going to talk about this, what do you hope to get out of the discussion? If the answer is, I'm going to show you you're wrong, well, then that's probably not a machloket l'shem shamayim. But if the answer is, I'm hoping to understand this issue better, refine my own point of view, learn about yours, okay, now we have a basis for constructive conflict. Make the goals clear, and much strife can be avoided, and much truth uncovered. Lower the temperature. In Shabbat 17a, we read of a particularly difficult episode in the ongoing disagreements between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai. Our sages related that a particular dispute became so intense, they stuck a sword in the study hall floor, and they said, one who seeks to enter the study hall, let him enter, and thereafter one who seeks to leave may not leave, such that all the sages will be assembled to determine the halakha. That day, Hillel was bowed and was sitting before Shammai like one of the students. The Gemara said, and that day was as difficult for Israel as the day the golden calf was made. Because Hillel, who was the Nasi, the presiding leader of the rabbinic body, was forced to sit in submission before Shammai. And the opinion of Beit Shammai prevailed in the vote conducted that day. The argument had grown so intense, it seems, that the only people allowed into the discussion were the ones prepared to risk physical violence should it escalate to that level. And equally importantly, the implication of Beit Shammai winning the day while Hillel sat bowed in submission is that the decision that was ultimately rendered was as wrong as Aaron being forced under threat of violence to create the golden calf in the wilderness. The stakes being raised in this way not only created a toxic and dangerous environment for debate, but also led to a poor result. We all at times can skew toward the impulsive, and our tempers can sometimes be shorter than we'd like. All of us should be self-directing toward a personal goal of staying calm and not allowing ourselves to fly off the handle. This type of personal development is critical to our ongoing work of conflict resolution, and it clearly has a strong basis in our sages' discussion of the issue too. So that next piece of advice, keep the proverbial swords out of the study hall. Lower the temperature. Don't panic. Don't threaten. Don't yell. Don't condescend to or demean your counterpart. As soon as that sword was shoved into the floor, Hillel should have left the room rather than allow himself and Shammai by extension to be lowered to such a degree. Make sure your sense of what's at stake in your discussion is clear. And if the stakes are too high, then don't engage on that particular issue at all in that moment. Leave it and come back when clearer heads can prevail. Center our shared humanity. Rabbinic Judaism instructs us that the way we engage with each other, even in deep conflict, must not originate from a place of hate. Just as infatuation can lead us to idealize someone and distort our perception of them, hatred similarly distorts our perception, leading us to dehumanize the other. In his Laws of Interpersonal Interaction, Maimonides teaches, whoever hates a fellow Jew in his heart transgresses a Torah prohibition. As Leviticus states, do not hate your brother in your heart. When one person wrongs another, the latter should not remain silent and despise him, as the book of Samuel states concerning the wicked. And Avshalom did not speak to Amnon, neither good nor bad, for Avshalom hated Amnon. Rather, he is commanded to make the matter known and ask his fellow, "Why did you do this to me? Why did you wrong me regarding this?" Rambam's use of the word "me" here is critical. It's not simply "how could you do this" or "say this," which chides the person who committed the wrong for their own actions. Rather, it's "how could you do this to me," which is designed to elicit empathy, lifting up both parties' shared humanity. The best way to ensure you don't go wrong here is to practice something called perspective taking, putting yourself in the other's place and trying to see things from their point of view. Pirkei Avot teaches, do not judge your fellow until you are in their place. And a plurality of the commentary from our sages on that famous line urges us to take into consideration all of the variables that might have led to their behavior in a given case. Things like their personality, their environment, their friends or the circles they run in, or even things unrelated to this particular disagreement you might be dealing with. Given similar circumstances, our commentators ask us, would you have acted or felt any differently than they did? And Maimonides goes further. He teaches, a person who rebukes their fellow should rebuke him privately. They should speak to him patiently and gently, informing him that he is only making these statements for his fellow's own welfare, to allow him to merit the life of the world to come. A person who admonishes their fellow should not speak to them harshly to the point that they become embarrassed. As Leviticus states, you should not bear a sin because of them, which is why our sages taught, should you rebuke him to the point that his face changes color? So my third bit of advice. In conflicts and difficult disagreements, always, always, always center your shared humanity. Enough with the name calling. Enough with the epithets. Enough with the accusations. We all have emotions. We are all vulnerable to feelings of shame, embarrassment, and guilt. We have a responsibility to keep one another's welfare in mind. It does no one any good to yell until we're blue in the face or to shame someone until their face goes red from embarrassment. We all have blind spots. We are none of us perfect, and we have all been wrong before. Someone who disagrees with you, or even someone who has wronged you directly within the reasonable bounds of normal interpersonal interactions, is not less deserving of your respect. Number 4, face to face. I love you, baby. Number 4, face to face. Like many of you, I'm online. I'm on social media, and I see friends making posts about hot button issues all the time. Invariably, such posts have dozens of comments. And after reading hundreds of these over the past couple of years, I can say with confidence that I have never, not once, seen productive, healthy dialogue or conflict resolution skills happening in the comment section. I don't think that that's just a coincidence. I don't think it's just a coincidental product either, by the way, of who I happen to be friends with or follow. Real dialogue, real growth, actually constructive conflicts simply do not happen in those spaces. You can't center humanity in the comment section. But you can hide behind your computer screen and safely hurl accusations into the digital void. So this final component that I want to leave you with has been the quiet undercurrent of this entire discussion. You may have noticed that all of these aspects of conflict resolution, all these texts I've quoted and values I've cited, imply or even outright mandate direct face-to-face interactions. So this is critical. If you've got a disagreement with someone, take it offline. Talk on the phone or video chat, or better yet, get together. When we do teshuvah, we are not merely allowed to send a letter of apology. We have to show up and own the work. This Rosh Hashanah, we have an opportunity to examine our behaviors and dispositions when we are in machloket with each other. Keep it constructive. Lower the temperature. Center our shared humanity. And do it all face to face. These Jewish values of conflict resolution will go a long way toward making our interactions, even around issues we feel most strongly about, far healthier. We have work to do. We have to rediscover the lost art of disagreement. The health of our community, our colleagueships, our friendships, our families depends on it. We can do this. And the more we focus on it, the sweeter the new year will be. Shana Tova and Mituka, everybody.